Hi. Hello, everyone. Glad you're here. Thanks, Sherry, for doing this. So, in facing how we're going to get to peace, there are basically three paths that people have, three kinds of strategies that people have come up with. One is to impose peace. Impose peace by a strong force that is able to require peace of one side or the other or both sides. This is the strategy that worked after the Second World War, right? That there was peace because one side won and the other side lost. Doesn't look like that's going to happen in the Middle East right now. It's not going to happen either but one side will impose on the other. Nor does it seem likely in the configuration of politics as we see it in the next 15 to 20 years anyway, that there would be an international force or a will in the United States to impose a solution for peace. The second one that people traditionally talk about is diplomatic strategies. And the diplomatic strategies, in my view, most of the diplomatic strategies have tended to work when there is a strong, as one of our American leaders said, speak quietly but carry a big stick. If you don't carry a big stick, diplomacy often goes nowhere. This diplomacy is often based on nice talking, but with some power behind it. Without the power behind it, the diplomacy doesn't go very, very, very far. So actually diplomacy can be seen often, not always, as a variant of imposed solution. That is that you've got the willingness of somebody to use whatever, whether it's explicitly armed force or whether it's economic force or some kind of thing that will back up your diplomatic efforts. And often in many of the organizations that talk about peace, including much of the peace movement in Israel and much of the peace forces here, we talk about the issues as though they were going to be resolved simply by negotiations and agreements in the negotiations. I think that has proved to be a futile path. At least without some either very strong desire on the part of the people to make peace, on the one hand, or on the other hand, a strong force that will impose that or will back up the diplomacy with some form of coercion. Now, I don't like coercion, but I want to just acknowledge that these are the kinds of discussions that we have, and often people are surprised when the diplomatic path hasn't worked. But as many people get, a diplomatic path doesn't work unless there is a genuine will on the side of both sides to come to a peaceful outcome, or if one side or other has the capacity to, in a gentle and smiley way, indicate that they're going to use the powers that they have to impose on the other a solution. Now, the third path is the path of that was a path of a change of heart, a reconciliation based on one side or the other, or usually both sides, coming to realize that it really, really wants a peace. And it wants a peace more than it wants to be vindicated on the set of issues that have separated, where the issues are whether it's territory or whether it's some other set of offenses that have happened or changes in laws, that they want to end the struggle more than they want to win the argument. Do you see what I'm saying? And that change of heart path has been the path that has been wildly undervalued in the peace movements, and And instead, much of the peace forces that we've been able to build have focused on manipulation at the top. Can we get the ear of the Congress? Can we get the ear of the president? Can we influence the Knesset? Can we influence the Palestinian leadership? Whisper into their ears. Build up more power from below in terms of a congressional offensive. Get more people in Congress to pass the resolutions that would favor peace instead of the resolutions that are currently being passed, which are resolutions that favor continuing, in the United States, blind support for the Israeli government, no matter what that government is, and no matter what it stands for, just blind support for the Israeli government. So can we counter that by building a grassroots movement from below that will push our Congress people to pass a different resolution? But you see, the fantasy here is that you will be able to whisper into the ears of the powerful or push the powerful so that they will then be more energetic in following the path of diplomacy. But as I say, diplomacy that is based on no significant change of heart and mind is not a path that is likely to work unless you're willing to go for the coercive strategy. Now, and I'll talk a little bit later about why the coercive strategy isn't going to work so well. So this change of heart and minds, unfortunately, is the most difficult path. It's the most difficult path, and it's easy to understand why those of us, I don't want to put anybody down or suggest there's anything wrong with this, just that those of us who have a lot of things in our life would find it very difficult to get into the strategy of changing hearts and minds. I know that when I lived in Israel and was working with the Israeli peace movement, I suggested to people that we start talking to Israeli citizens about our position. At that time, the hour was Peace Now. And almost to a person, everybody that I spoke to in that movement said to me, there's no point in it. There's no point in trying to talk to ordinary citizens. The way that we will get change is that the person at the top will change things, and then we will, then everybody will follow. And they used as the example Sadat coming to Israel and how the population had changed, switched their minds about the relationship with Egypt. And it was a very powerful and good example. Only it didn't work when it came to Palestinian issues, because for Palestinian issues brought up a different level of fear and a different level of intimacy, because the Palestinians were so much closer in the daily interactions that people had. So that's one thing that I want to say is that we need to develop a strategy that talks to the heart of people, that focuses on, and I'm not saying this has to be counterposed to diplomacy or counterposed to any other strategy, but this has been a wildly underdeveloped strategy. The strategy of what actually would we do to change the hearts and minds of people on both sides of this struggle. How would we go about that, and what are the obstacles to that? And that leads into trying to understand the psychodynamics and the spiritual dynamics that are going on in both populations.